Hello everyone, it's your bud. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Luminaries from Halo, a very cool topic. Now I was going to do this in my own words, but there is very little about the Luminaries, so this will be partly in my words and partly from the Halo wikis. And sorry if you can hear my computer in the background, but it's rendering a video for you guys right now. Now first things first, I noticed the Luminary had a similarity with the Triluminary from Babylon 5. Now I was going to title this video the Luminary and the Triluminary, but in order to discuss the Minbari's Triluminary from Babylon 5, I have to spoil the entire story, and I'm not willing to do that. You should go and watch Babylon 5. The entire 5 seasons of the show are filled with political intrigue, there's assassinations, there's these grand wars of like dark and light. Now you might not think this if you've seen this, but for me when I was younger, I always equate Babylon 5 to Lord of the Rings in space. So imagine if there's the Empire of Gondor and there's the whole like dark Mordor stuff, and imagine that in space. So there's a race of shadowy chaos known as the Shadows, and then there's a race of order and goodness, but such strict order and goodness, and they're the Vorlons, and in between everything is an entire galaxy, and amongst these are humanity and the Minbari. The Minbari are basically the elves in this, and yeah, so there's this whole thing about like, I don't know, the Triluminary is the key factor, the key artifact, the key historical device, the key religious device. It is the centerpiece of the Minbari culture and the centerpiece of the biggest spoiler in the entire show. So please do not look up the Triluminary from Babylon 5 unless you already know about it. Now that this rant has been over and I've warned you not to spoil yourself on an incredible 5-year show that I will eventually discuss on my channel, let's move on now to today's topic, the Luminary from Halo. So the Luminary is Covenant technology. The Covenant is bound in a single goal and a single religious philosophy, and that is what makes the Covenant who they are. They are not a single race, but a covenant of races under a religious philosophy. So the Luminary was Covenant technology, modeled and sculpted after a Forerunner device recovered from the Covenant-controlled Forerunner Dreadnought. So the Forerunners were a powerful proto-race that killed themselves and all other life in order to destroy the Flood. The Flood was their greatest threat, and the Forerunners were the ones who battled it, along with some other races, and the Forerunner Dreadnought was left behind when everything was destroyed. So all organic life was destroyed to counter the Flood, but the Forerunner Dreadnought remained. When the Covenant found it, they found a single device. The purpose of this device was to scan for and identify Forerunner relics, and then was eventually required on all Covenant vessels. So the Luminary is described as a series of 3 silver pyramids, 2 smaller ones supporting an upside-down larger one in the center. There are apparently several models of Luminaries, more advanced versions, presumably a better reconstruction of the original Forerunner devices. As it is revealed, primitive versions of Luminaries led the Covenant to discover the Legolo, which are the worms or the hunters, if you know the hunters. Luminaries are of great religious significance to the Covenant, and tampering with them was punishable by death, which we will get to. Remember that thing, tampering with them is punishable by death. And also remember that there are presumably better reconstructions and worse ones. So the writ of the Union concerning the Luminary states, a Luminary does not lie. As the presence of a Luminary is required on all Covenant vessels, there are likely at least tens, if not hundreds of thousands of them in existence, depending on the course or the number of ships the Covenant control. The Luminary of Minor Transgression is significant as it led the Covenant to the UEG colony Harvest and precipitated the Human Covenant War. It identified Harvest with several thousand Forerunner glyphs, referred to as Luminations in this context, and called relics by the Covenant. So I mentioned the Luminary seeks out relics. Well, it actually seeks out Forerunner glyphs, and remember this point as well. So that led the Covenant to believe that the world held innumerable Forerunner treasures. Unfortunately, they misinterpreted the sign as reclamation rather than the actual translation, reclaimers. Although the newly adopted Prophet of Truth was aware of the mistake caused by this misinterpretation, he refused to let the Covenant know of the human ties with the Forerunner, and instead used this as motivation to begin the Human Covenant War in order to ensure the survival of the Covenant. And for those who are unaware, humanity had evolved and gone to the stars once before, and they were the allies of the Forerunners in the fight against the Flood. In fact, it was them that made the Forerunners aware of this problem. So as the very basis of the Covenant's faith is that there are no more Forerunners alive, instead the Covenant claimed that the Luminaries were all incorrect, despite a Covenant mantra stating that a Luminary does not lie. As a result, he claimed that the Filth were out to destroy the Holy Forerunner relics, and most importantly, the Halo rings. He also planned to use this as a means of getting the location of all humans, so he could exterminate them. In 2550, for some reason, there was a delay in the installments of Luminaries onto the newly made Covenant ships. Because of this, the Prophet of Truth ordered, on each vessel still lacking a Luminary, one Ungoi worker out of every 64 is to be executed, and the Ungoi are the grunts, just to let you know. To preserve discipline between the Sangheili overseers and the Ungoi, choice of victim and execution is to be by Kegyar death squads. This is to continue daily until that vessel's Luminary is installed. Now, there are a number of things that you might have thought of watching this, or you might have thought of before, or you might have not thought of. Now I'm going to point out. I did a little bit of research. So there's this thing about if the Luminary is basically a compass that points to all Forerunner or Forerunner icons, or glyphs as the machine calls it, and it did detect humans, then why can it not be used just as a literal human detector? You have a Luminary, you just have it there, and then like whenever a human's in EVA or in a ship doing a transport, it should pick up immediately. However, there are a number of ways you can describe this. Number one, space is too vast for the Luminary to always know everything in every direction. So therefore, a Luminary is a compass to Forerunner icons, but perhaps it is a compass that needs to be scoped into an area first to activate. So perhaps it just can't work in all directions. Number two, there are the multiple levels of technology ones, apparently some better, several models. There are more advanced versions and there are less advanced versions, and as well, since there is great religious significance with them, tampering will be punishable by death. So if there would be a way for the original purpose of just a Forerunner compass to then be turned to basically human radar, that would not really occur because of the lack of tampering that's allowed within. So the Covenant does not allow for the tampering of this technology, so therefore tampering or manipulation of it would be less readily available to the Covenant. So there is note that since the Reclaimers on Harvest were noted by the Luminary, so does that mean that like it can see through shields or invisibility, or like couldn't it just be a human radar or a human tracker? And it is strange that it can't pinpoint all humans, but it's probably because of the very, very strict religious coding and the fact that like the people that are in charge of the Luminaries are the ones that would not really want knowledge that humans are Forerunners to get out. One of the other arguments is that the prophets modify the Luminaries to stop showing humans as Forerunners, and that way they could keep the members of the Covenant from hesitating when given the order to wipe out the humans. So the Luminaries should be able to pick up all humans, but they don't. So that way you can infer that the strict religious control and lack of tampering and true understanding of the Luminary made it so that the Luminary couldn't be used in the way to just look up humans like a human radar, because otherwise it would be the best human radar ever and the Covenant would have known where we were every moment of every day. So there's one other thing I wanted to mention here in this video, and that is the Vector class Mjolnir armor. So the Vector class Mjolnir armor has a Covenant data port and a dummy plug, allowing the user to commune with the artifact-seeking Luminaries. So the Vector class Mjolnir armor is a hybrid pilot/infantry design first used by the Spartan reconnaissance team tasked with the covert assessment of the Alpha Halo fragments scattered across the surface of Behest. And it's probably my favorite armor in all of Halo. Not necessarily the look, but the whole idea of human armor having this port to allow it to commune with the Luminaries. Isn't that so cool? And I really like it, because the Luminaries were originally Forerunner tech to help them find their other technology, and now they have finally come back into the Reclaimers' hands, which I love. So some of my favorite armor includes, let's see, there's the security armor, which looks cool. There's the Timmy helmet, which I like, but otherwise, yeah, Vector armor, the theme is pretty sweet, allowing humans to commune with the Luminaries. So humans can commune with the Luminaries, the Covenant can commune with the Luminaries, and perhaps the ability of the Luminaries to not only seek out the Forerunner technology, or glyphs as they call it, but Forerunners themselves was something that was not understood by the religious and stagnated order that controls the Covenant, and perhaps since it was was never made aware, and because they had such strict control in place that did not allow for the Luminaries to be tampered with, well, tampering meaning explored and understood, it meant that they could never use it as a weapon, which is a benefit, and now even humans have the ability to use the Luminaries. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this, when I was reminded of the Luminaries, I was reminded of the Triluminary from the Minbari in Babylon 5, and I do want to make some great Babylon 5 videos for all of you guys, but if you do not know the story of Babylon 5, then I don't know how to describe it without spoiling it. I can do some great introduction videos into like what it was in the very beginning. It's very much Lord of the Rings in space. So if you can imagine like Lord of the Rings starting out with just like, oh, I'm Frodo and I've found some people, we're going on an adventure. And then the very end of Lord of the Rings is like, and then Aragorn is crowned king and humanity has its reign and the third age of man is ushered in. And that's very much like what happens in Babylon 5. It's the age of man coming to in space. However, there's lots of fighting. It's I don't know, it's a perfect in-between of like something like, let's see, The Expanse, and then Star Trek or Stargate or any of those star anything shows. So if you like stuff like that, if you like to see humans fighting like Gundam, like I've been watching recently, if you like to see like actual political intrigue and like manipulation and wars and civil wars and all of that, there's so much that happens in Babylon 5 that I can't explain what the Triluminary is without explaining every single plot twist and who dies and who dies when and who kills them and all of these details, which of course I want to discuss, but unless I know that I have Babylon 5 fans already, I don't want to spoil an incredible story. Babylon 5 is one of the best sci-fi operas out there. It's all written by one person, so they had like complete total freedom. They got to tell pretty much the entire story they wanted, and yeah, it's just great. It's just great. So that was the video on the Luminary, and as well a little bit on the Vector class Mjolnir armor. I hope you enjoyed this. Just a quick video, but I've been making lots of other videos for you recently, and I just need to go lie down and do some resting. I'm probably gonna just watch some anime and just have some fun. So thanks for watching. Leave this video a like if you want more Halo in the future. A like shows me that you're interested in this topic. Subscribe for daily videos. I make at least one video every single day on this channel, and leave any questions or suggestions in the comments below, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching.